Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Q&A Wednesday by DX Engineering. I'm Mark, W8BBQ.
I'm Rod, K8RR.
Rod, what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about working the DX. We had gone into some detail on operating the radio, pushing the buttons in the right sequence, turning the knobs, doing the things that you need to do.
To pull those signals out.
That's right.
Right.
We did shift and width. Before that we did split mode operation.
Correct.
And we got more questions about split mode operation.
I was going to say that generated a lot of excitement.
Yeah, really. They were like, well, what does that mean? Like, what frequencies am I going to be operating the DX on?
Right.
So here we're going to explain it with an example of the 20-meter band.
Right.
On the 20-meter band.
On the 20-meter band.
Right.
And when we're talking about working DX, some DX stations or special events or contest stations that you may want to try to work could be Simplex.
Yeah.
And Simplex basically means, for example, that the DX, the station you want to work is transmitting on, for example, 14.200, and they're also listening on the same frequency. So kind of cut and dry there. You basically wait for the proper opening, when the station says QRZ or whatever the case may be, and you jump in and grab them.
Okay, so the guy says QRZ from K8RR, and then you would transmit on his same frequency.
Same frequency, and that's called Simplex. Yep.
Okay, but the other day we were talking about what's not really referred to as duplex, it's referred to as split.
As split,
Right.
And
so split mode operation is common for DXpeditions, not so common for contesting,
no.
but very common for DX stations and especially DXpeditions.
Right.
How does that work?
And in a nutshell, the reason that's done is just to eliminate some of the QRM for the DX operator, so that he can pick out your signal and run more stations and allow more people to work that new one.
The DX station will be transmitting on, let's say, 14190.
Yeah, 14190.
And then nobody else transmits there so that everybody can always hear him.
I'm actually going to pick 14195 because I don't do math very well.
Oh.
So let's say that the DX station is working here and he's at 14195.
All right, and then what does he say?
Usually what he's-
CQD, DXpedition,
Usually
blah,
he's
blah.
going to say this is such and such, whatever, DXpedition, and he'll say something to the effect of working up 5 to 10. So basically now what that means is that he's transmitting here on 14195.
And then he's listening from 14200 to 14205 or even 14210. He's listening up 5 to 10, right? Which would be actually 14205. Would be 5 to 10. So all the stations generally start transmitting here and here and here and here and here, trying to figure out where he's listening.
So instead of having everybody that wants to work the new DX station all on one frequency, he's now got them all in here.
Spread out over 5 kilohertz.
Correct.
Sometimes the pileup grows and it becomes bigger than only 5, sometimes
and it
10
may be
or bigger.
working up, 5 to 20 or, whatever the case may be. And the main trick to all this, whether though it's real quick, whether it's Simplex or working split, is to listen. I know you hear that over and over, but that's really the trick.
Listening.
Both you and I have worked a lot of DX, and the whole key is listening.
I've tuned across the DX station, Mark. I hear him calling CQ working up.
Right.
Up 5. I'm on or in CW. Sometimes they'll say,
Up 2 to 3
UP2.
Right.
Or UP1 even, UP5. So I tune across him, and then I hear other people calling him on his transmitting frequency.
It happens, yes.
And then I hear somebody else say on sideband, he's working up. That's what this means.
Right, that's what it means. So again, it's to try to eliminate that QRM. Usually the idea is that the DX station or the DXpedition, his goal's the same as yours. You want to work him and he wants to work you in as many stations as possible. So you want to try to make that run smoothly and quickly, and this is how it's done.
Now you can see why it's very handy to have a spectrum scope radio where you can see the pileup as it's forming. You can see where the stations are calling, and then when he makes a call to a station, you can see where that guy's signal is in the pileup, and then when he goes back to him and then finishes up and he calls QRZ again, you get your transmit frequency on here, and that's on the split. That would be
Right.
on the B, on a single receiver radio on the BFO, because you're listening to the DX on the AVFO,
Right.
or on a dual receiver. This would be on the sub.
So if you've got a new radio with the scope, try that out to see how it works for you, because that's kind of the trick. You're going to have all kind of signals and stuff happening here because you got 6,000 people trying to work this station. Then all of a sudden he'll come back to a guy.
One guy.
And in theory, if everybody's behaving, then you're going to get that one bump that Rod talked about. Oops. Dropped my mic. You're going to get that bump that Rod talked about, and that's who the DX station is working.
So he calls one guy, and then everybody shuts up, theoretically, and one station comes back to him,
Right.
and he happens to be up here. He's above the pileup. That means that the DX station is listening progressively up the pileup. The next time, he comes back to the pileup, and he comes back to one guy, and then he's down here.
Yep.
That could mean that he's working down the pileup.
It all gets back to that listening. A lot of these DX stations will get themselves in a pattern. So he might be listening at, he might work somebody at 14,200. The next guy's 201. The next guy's 202. If that's the case, when he works that guy at 202, you know that you should plant yourself on 203 and be calling there as soon as he's done. With the last
previous
station,
QSO, right?
and you'll snag him.
So DX working the DX in split mode, putting your transmit frequency at the right spot at the right time.
And listening.
It's all about timing and listening.
Right.
Join us again next time on Q&A Wednesday here at DX Engineering. You can always reach us at dxengineering.com.
Or give us a call or anything like that.
That's
Facebook.
right.
He's Rod, K8RR.
That's Mark, W8BBQ, 73.